All right. Good evening, everybody. Hello, everybody. If you're joining us from Facebook, it doesn't matter when you're watching the show. If you're joining us on Facebook, on YouTube, we say welcome to Liberia Shall Rise. I'm your host, Mr. Augustine Sharif, and I'm here with my brothers, Mr. Emmanuel George and Mr. Sapalusa. Gentlemen, how you guys doing?
I'm doing good.
Sapalusa, how's the Lone Star State?
Our Lone Star State is great, and I'm wonderful. It was unfortunate today that Deshaun Watson came back and whipped his young Texans. So that is
You
pretty
guys,
good.
you guys didn't want to keep him. Where someone took him,
Yeah, yeah, but Trinidad is out. The second African team, France, it moved to the next level.
right?
So I guess we can support our brothers that are working on our front.
Well, gentlemen, welcome to the show. Today we are going to be discussing Politics 101. It's the first week, the first Sunday in December. We'll be taking some breaks here, but we have to talk a little bit of politics today. And to our viewers out there, we say thank you for always joining us. Share the show. We are going to be discussing, looking at an issue or topic that I really feel like each of us have an opinion on. So we'll be super excited if you can share the show for us. And we'll be looking at this whole election thing in Liberia. Voting in Liberia. Are we voting based on the issues in the country, or are we just loyal to our political parties? So we'll be discussing that today. So keep coming. Just keep sharing the show, and just we'll have the number here because we want to hear from you. We want to hear your opinion. If you're in Monrovia, we want to hear from you. If you're here, we want to hear your opinion. So stay tuned. We'll play our song. We'll come right back. Mr. Sapalusia will introduce our sect, and we will go from there. All right, gentlemen, let's get the show on the road. Mr. Sapalusia, take it over, man. Introduce our segment today, and we will hit the road.
Good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever you're joining us from. I'm Emmanuel G. Sapalusa, and welcome to Liberia Shall Rise. Today, on Politic 101, we are going to be discussing some political issues that affecting not just Liberia, but it's now becoming a trend around the world. In Liberia, we know our political system have changed over the years from one party system to a multi-party system, which a lot of political activists embraced in the 80s. But today we see that multi-party system have not worked in the favor of the Liberian people. Instead of having multi-party that is built on ideology, it's been based now on individual thinking or on an individual basis. And in lieu of that, we do not have political institutions. And we hope our political landscape can change and become diverse, where we are incorporating more ideologies from community-based organizations, civil society, religious organizations, so that our political landscape can be of intellectual discussion, voting based on ideology, based on thoughts, that we all have freedom to exercise our political will. And this is where we hold our elected officials accountable. And we as citizens can also be held accountable for our actions, because the country of Liberia is the only nations that you and I, who are a descendant of, can call home. And it's the only place that we as citizens can develop. Again, as you join us, we say, welcome to Politic 101 on Liberia Shall Rise. Ladies and gentlemen, let us discuss the issues.
All right, Mr. Sapalucia, man, thank you so much for that brilliant introduction. We'll wait here. Mr. George is going to be joining us here shortly. But I tell you what, man, let's just go right into it, right? It was 1997. You and myself were just on the verge of graduating high school. We were still going to school on Camp Johnson Road, you and myself. And so we were just looking to graduate and just get to LU and start our thing.
Yeah.
And you were the political guy. You were always talking politics and all these different things. I never once really liked politics. But there was something that rubbed me the wrong way. I got to put it out there. Something rubbed me very wrong in 97. I still remember, because it was just so terrible to hear. 97, while we were still wearing our senior uniform, getting ready to graduate, there was an election around the corner. And, it was Chancellor. He was running, and his political slogan, if I remember correctly, was, "You kill my mom, you kill my power, we'll vote for you," right? Everybody was singing our song, "You kill my mom, you kill my power, we'll vote for you." And the sad thing about that, for some reason, even as young as I was, I remember being so upset, because I remember thinking the people who were singing that song, chances are they never really suffer from the Civil War, or maybe they were part of the people that were actually killing people. And also, I remember thinking that what if someone who lost their mother, lost their father, who were killed during the war, and you start to sing those kind of songs, how do people take it? But then again, the flip side to that coin is, were these people singing the song because they have no hope? This is the only hope we have. We have no choice. Let's make this guy happy, or else we go down the drain. And so that brings us to the question that we want to answer today. In our country, in Liberia, and different parts of, but let's just focus on Liberia. When people go to the election booth, when people decide that we're going to vote, like it's coming next year, are we voting on the issues? Are we voting on what really matters? Or are we just putting on the blinders and just go and vote our political affiliations and just vote for our political parties?
Thank you, my brother, for that question and that topic. It's a question that we Liberians need to answer, right? Mm-hmm. And like you talk about the 1997, when we're all young, they were called all young boys at the time, and graduating from high school, and we had all this ambition to become whatever we thought we were going to become: scientists, politician, whatever you wanted to become, right?
Sure.
We were looking at our program sheet. And then that election, I remember some of the things that caused us to convince people to vote for Chancellor at the time was, hey, Elizabeth Brown, I remember, I would not forget that, when she made the pronouncement that this guy was making $75 million a year, and Liberians going to sit and allow him to go away with that money. And some of us said, oh, wow. Well, then maybe he's not going to steal. I personally said that to a lot of people. I said, well, maybe if Liberian people elect him, I didn't like him because of the atrocity he had brought to the country. But if he's elected, maybe we'll avoid another second wave of war, and he may not steal from the Liberian people. That's what we were thinking. But that was so misleading that it led a lot of people to vote for Mr. Chancellor, and he won the election. And people voted according to them based on love, right? Love of the man. And I always tell people, love is not something that we give to our leaders, in my view, right? Love should be given to our family, our spouses, our children, and our relatives. But when it comes to our leaders, yes, you can respect them. You can hold them accountable. You can have that relationship of, hey, you're my leader, and I'm just subordinate or whatever you are, but we have to hold one another accountable, right? But when you put love in the midst, then it becomes difficult to hold that person accountable. Then you become blind, because we all know the saying, love is blind. And love is blind in that if you look at what happened in the Bible with Jesus Christ, because love is blind, no matter what man was doing in their sinful nature, he still came and died for them because of love. So that is why I tell people, do not love your leaders, or especially political leaders, but you can elect them and hold them accountable. Now, let us come to our question we're discussing today. And let me just give a little backdrop. And I will tell us what I'm about to say is nothing to compare Liberian democracy to American democracy. However, voting along party line is something that we see is a trend that is coming to America. The only difference there is in America, there is education that can have people look at data and understand why they don't need to do certain things, because most of our decision made here in the United States is based, or our voting is most of the time based on our ideology, right? If the person is a Republican, is Republican ideology that is based on to vote. Some, I mean, if the Democrat, the same, Libertarian, the same, and those who are independent are the only ones that go in between political parties to vote based on what ideology or policy that this person is bringing forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately for Liberia, we don't have the statistics to support people votes, whether it's by party line or not, right? We're not taking yearly. I know this going midterm for the United States, it kind of switched where there was some Republican, unlike 2000, was that 2016, when we were voting Donald Trump. Unlike 2016, almost about 90% of Republicans voted for Donald Trump. This midterm, it dropped. A lot of Republicans decided to go a different way. In fact, some of them went as far as supporting Democrat, or they did not vote at all, just because the person in their district, the district that they came from, were carrying some ideology they felt that was not protecting the democracy of the United States, and that they reflect the Republican ideology, right? Now, in Liberia, though, most of us do not have, in my view, the political education that needed to have our people vote based on policies, right? They're not voting based on policies. They're not voting based on ideology. They just vote according to them based on their love for the individual. It's not even political party. If you look at Liberia, right? Because I remember when 2011 election. Remember this guy, Totman. Totman was the standard bearer for CDC, right? And he found it difficult, even though George Weah was the vice president. People were voting mostly for George Weah than the standard bearer of the CDC at the time. So that means when you look at Liberia political landscape, when it comes to voting, people are not voting really based on political ideology. It's just based on their connection, their emotional connection they have with whoever is carrying the flag bearer of the political party. And that scene exists today. Even when I look at the ANC, some people don't belong to the ANC. They're just going to support ANC because Mr. Cummings is there. But if Mr. Cummings is not there, then they no longer have loyalty to ANC. And I think that needs to change. We need to start building political institutions based on ideology. And that's why I believe that we need to have civil societies, community-based organizations, and if possible, traditional-based organizations too, getting involved into our political landscape where we come up with different ideas and create a political system, a political party system. Then we'll have institutions. So when I'm part of Party A, I'm part of Party A because A is presenting the traditional value of Liberia, is presenting the religious value of Liberia, is presenting the some silver discourse, whether it is education or healthcare. It is promoting those or topics or those ideologies, and that's why I'm building or I'm supporting that political institution. But as it stands, we are not even voting based on party line. We are just voting based on who we like in our political system, and I think it needs to change.
So, you see, I'd like to go back to the point that you made earlier, which I think it is very good. It is relevant to the topic because someone can say, you know what, you just had election in your country, in America, and people, they vote down the ballot. They just vote strictly Republican. They just vote strictly Democrat, and you name it. So some will actually come back and say those very things. So I like the fact that you actually made that disclaimer because it does happen here. But the only thing is, like you correctly said, is the whole idea of sometimes even people within your own very political party, they will hold you accountable.
Yes.
You know, you will start losing some strong support to make you think, you know what, I need to straighten up, or else I might be out of here.
Yeah.
You know, and so there is that accountability. There is that system where you can actually look at certain things and say what you want. You can still go back to these political platforms and look at that platform and see what they stand for. And those things that they stand for, they will be able to say, look, we achieve A, B, C.
Exactly.
They are still
Exactly.
true. They are still true to those things. But you know, in Liberia, I guess that's what we're asking the question. In Liberia, I mean, are we really voting? And that's why I keep going back to that 1997 thing. For you, you were voting for Charles Taylor at the time because you felt like he had money, and if you put him in power, he's not going to steal from the country. So that was your rationale. But for most people, they were voting for Mr. Taylor, and they were singing a stupid song that says, "You came my mind, you came my power, I will vote for you," which
Yep.
actually just go to prove where we were. It go back to say exactly what you were saying, that sometimes we just fall in love with certain people and vote for those people, no matter what their flaws are, we will vote for them. And
Yeah.
I think that is one of the issues I see today in our political landscape in Liberia, because we just find certain people that we like and we vote for them. So if you go to Liberia, you start giving people things, chances are you will get some votes this coming
Yeah.
election. And so that is why we're asking the question: what good? What are the good, the bad, and the ugly about this kind of mindset, this kind of thinking when it comes to our democracy in our country?
So and again, and I will keep giving this disclaimer because I don't want somebody to think that I'm comparing Liberia and America. Let us look at the party line voting, right? I remember 2016 when the election came. I know I voted straight my party that I chose at that year, straight down the ballot, up and down. I didn't care who it was, right?
Mhm.
Because I did not like the Republican candidate at the time, Donald Trump. There were people who loved not what he was because they all saw the flaw in him. They saw it, things that he talked about did not present, is not represent moral as a moral compass. Because if I did some of the things that he pronounced doing in America, I would not have a job. Some of the things that he confessed to, not some of what they said about him, but things that he himself confessed to in his own actions. But people voted because they said, you know what, I'm a Republican. No matter who they put there, whether I like him or not, I'm just going to vote Republican, right? And what happened then? Well, we saw that when those things happened, it affected people of immigrant background because I know even there were Liberians who, because of the policies that he put in place, Liberia was sent out of America who were not supposed to be sent out of America. They were sent to Senegal and to places that they didn't belong, right? And some of them were not even born in Liberia. But because of policy that they put in place, I knew of few instances that we saw on CNN that they collected a guy from Florida because he had dread, they deported him to Jamaica. But he was not a Jamaican, right? So there were policy, even though some of those people of his color or his background voted straight down the ballot, it led to some discriminatory act that went against certain people and certain wrong things that happened. Now, when it comes to Liberia, if we start voting based on for people who we love, let's take for example the current administration. The current administration says they elected him. Here we are. The country is in a crisis, right? The country is in a crisis in that you were talking about census that's supposed to be conducted in the country. That was not straightened up, but the president is not in the country. In fact, they even had their party convention. The president was not in the country. Can you? I mean, these things are just things to add up. We got all these crises going on in the country. Teachers are not getting paid, or civil servants are not getting paid. The president is not in the country, and he's using millions of dollars traveling out of the country to spend more than 30 days. In fact, he's spending almost 48 days out of the country by the time the time's over.
But I tell you though, when it comes down to it, I hate to interrupt here, but when it comes down to it, you know, CDC having that convention with the president not in the country, that one is not my business. You know, let's just put it plainly
True,
like
true.
it's not my business. It's not going to put food on my table. It's not going to do any of that stuff. You know, and so we are looking
But
at
it
the
shows, it shows the lack of transparency.
I do see it. I do see
Yes,
it.
it shows
However,
that's why I brought it up because it
yeah,
shows the
but
lack of transparency.
But what I'm thinking about here is I'm thinking about like the everyday people, right? Because this has nothing to do. I'm not even looking at the administration. I'm looking at everyday people. The same people that will go and run up and down the street and start to demonstrate and start to scream and out loud because they're not rising the country. The same group of people that will scream loud because they can't pay their children's school fees. The same people that will say, you know what, gas is too expensive. These same individuals, I don't know what it is, because tomorrow they can cry all they want, but then tomorrow when election comes, these same people will turn around and they'll be dancing in the street voting for the same individuals that they were just crying about a few months ago.
Yeah.
And so I always say, you know, I think maybe this sounds bad, maybe I'm just naive, but I always said maybe Liberia is one of those countries that you can truly go and buy votes. You can buy votes because people they will not do what they should do. But by the time election season comes, they will go and buy rice, or they go to the marketplaces and start giving people money and start doing all of these different things. We saw it in the midterm election in Liberia. You know, lawmakers going to the markets and dividing money, giving people money, giving them rights. And so those individuals, instead of thinking, wait a minute, 3 months ago we didn't have food on the table. Why they may just giving me money now because election is next week? But those same people will brush everything aside and go and vote. So are they really voting for the issues, or are they voting for what's really important for their children? Don't even think about them or your children.
And that's another problem too, and that's another concern. Okay, so, so you talk about buying vote, and besides buying vote, there's another voting called trucking voting, or something like that nature, where they're trucking candidates. Because I just watched a protest in Kakata, in Maigibi County, where I think the University Student Union of Maigibi, based in Kakata area, are demonstrating against an aspirant who wants to occupy the senatorial position in Maigibi, even though he's not even from there, right? And they are saying that this guy, first, he's not connected to us. Two, he has sanction. He's been sanctioned by the American government, so he's not supposed to be here. Now they are alleging that he's trucking people from, or in fact, it is not surprising because I know he did it in Bon County. He trucks people from Monrovia to Kakata to make it seem like the citizens are behind him. He takes about MTA, 2-3 MTA buses loaded with people, pay their way, and they go to these various events to show the numbers. Now, the danger in that for Liberians is this: when you do that and represent this person or publicize them as the popular person in our community, you just took away your right of healthcare. You just took away, you might not be from that area, but you took the right away from those people who are from that area. The incentive that they're supposed to get, whether it is hospital, whether it is a road network, whether it is education for their children and their future generation. That's what you're just doing, because you're leaving from Montserrat County, going to Kakata and pretend like you are the citizen of Kakata, but when you are, or Magibi, when you are not. So the resources that are supposed to come to those people is not going to come. And that comes again back to the census. Without the census being conducted in Liberia, it creates more problem for the country, because how do you know how much or how many schools, high school, elementary schools, or whatever you can build in a certain district when you don't know the number of people that exist there? How do you know what development clinics and stuff like that you can provide for that community when you don't know the numbers? But Liberians who are voting and think that somebody giving you $20, $50, $100, even if they're giving you $1,000 to go and vote, I want you to know, or I want us to know, that $1,000 may serve you for a month or two, but it will not serve you 3 years, 4 years. It will not serve your children. It will not serve your grandchildren. Let us not forget, it happened during Charles Taylor's time, where people said, "I will vote for you," with a slogan that they gave. And I know it was just a bunch of combatants at the time that was singing those songs. But that song they sung, it represented all of us, regardless of whether we were if you were or not. That song, the song, it went that route. And because of that song, many of us suffer the consequences down the line. That's so right. I want us to know that. So today, when you're also voting,
not just down the line, we are still suffering it.
We are still suffering it, yeah. We are still suffering that. If you allow yourself to be trucked to go and vote or register in districts, just imagine that that penalty is going to come to you, your children, your children's children, because it's going to, I mean, eliminate development in your community.
And I think I'm super happy that you are making this point, because right now we are not talking about go vote for this person. I have no voice in Liberia. I cannot endorse any. My words have no weight in Liberia to say I endorse this person. They will get votes. That's not what we're doing here. So we are not speaking against any political party, political institution in Liberia, but we are speaking on behalf of the Liberian people, because this thing should actually be taking place in a classroom or by grassroots organizations
Yes.
that actually go to communities and teach people the value of that thing called their ballot.
Yes.
To go and teach them, look, the power that thing has. Don't just drop it anywhere. You will not just take your children. I mean, let's put in the American vernacular. You're not going to take your social security number and just put it somewhere. It is super important, not just for your own financial well-being, but the well-being of your family. So you're not just going to take that ballot and just drop it somewhere just because someone came to your little settlement and they say you're, and you say you're, and then you say let's go for it. Yeah. You have to start thinking critically. Look, the point you were making, Sapolicia, about that 1997 election when Chancellor won, you know, while some of us are super upset with that song, you know, there was a brother here in the United States. He wrote a piece called "You Came My Mind, You Came My Pie." You know, that song, I mean, it set us back a lot. You came my mind, you came my pie, I will vote for you. And this was a whole commentary written by Mr. Sianyo Karon Nyensio. He was in Atlanta, Georgia. He wrote this in 2000. And that piece is a very good piece to read, just to go back and kind of look at it and see some of the things that he wrote about. He speak about the ignorance of the Liberian people, that they were actually throwing away their future. Mm-hmm. But actually looking behind, I mean, beyond this man flaw. This man who came and brought guns to the country to destroy the country. And some of us, we had to be set back. They didn't graduate high school on time.
4 years.
Yes.
I was set back 4 years.
They didn't graduate high school on time. Nope. Some of us got to sit back in classroom with kids our age. And so to go back and man, I'm telling you, I'm still upset when I hear it. I used to see people running up and down the street singing that song, and I used to be so mad. Like, you have no idea what that particular man did to us in our country. And so that election, it is something that we should have learned from. And as we continue to progress and move in, hopefully in the right direction, we need to start thinking, who are these people that we are putting in place? Why are we putting them in place? What will they do for us in 4 years? 6 years is a long time for someone to be in one office. It's a long time.
Yeah, but let's look at even let us rest off the executive for a second and look at the lawmakers. Right? You got lawmakers that will be in office for 6 years. Right now, there are some that have been there for 18 years. That's a lifespan. That's a grown man. If somebody who was born 2005. Right? And you've been in office from 2005 or 2006 to 2022.
That kid is ready to vote now.
Yes. And then that's what people need to understand. Why the street we talk about most of the time, no, we focus based because of African government structure, with more focus on the executive. But most of our problem comes from the legislature, right? Because the legislature is supposed to be the one to hold the leadership or the executive accountable, to check also the judiciary. And these three branches supposed to be working together to run the lives of the people, holding one another accountable. But if you look at Liberia, in fact, the justice system is completely dormant. It seems that they're not even a branch of government when you look at Liberia. It seems that they're an executive branch.
So, let me interrupt you for a second. You're talking about accountability. Maybe it was 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago, actually, or maybe last week, when Samuel Tuwe, when he went to face the legislature after they had been trying to get him over and over and over, he been disrespecting them.
Yeah.
When he finally showed face, did you see the legislature in the house? They were laughing around, joking around. I said, nothing wrong.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Why would him? And then when he goes there, and then it's so sad. Look, I'm not a financial expert, I am not a financial expert in any means. However, the little finance 101 that I did would tell me that when this guy is standing up and talking, some of those things he's talking, I know it's trash. He goes there and he's trying to speak terms, big, and that's the mentality of Liberians. Liberians, this is why I'm speaking to us, Liberians. Whether in America, because I see the same thing in America too, and back home. Somebody speaking big book does not mean that the person know what they're talking about. They might just be pronouncing words with no connection. It is better the person tell you what you can understand. In fact, that's communication.
Mm-hmm.
Communication tells me when you do communication in classroom, it tells you three parts of communication: the message, the receiver, and feedback. If the man is giving you information and you cannot comprehend it, that means you're not going to give him feedback. So we need to understand, like we're speaking here now, the only impact we'll have on you learning or understanding what we're telling you is if you can understand it, because that's what makes you the receiver. And then you can give out feedback based on your action. That's what people look for in communication. So people standing on just speaking, like you go in somebody guarantee God just speak big words. There is no connection with those words. So look, like let us try to start asking our people, please speak it to my level. It's not a big thing. It's not a shame. In fact, our lawmakers are not holding our people accountable. The fact that you will send for an appointed man that you confirm, and he doesn't show up one, he doesn't show up two, he doesn't show up three, he's supposed to be in jail. That's the first thing, because you hold him for contempt. If he doesn't show up, you issue a writ of arrest, and he goes to jail. That's the only time he will take you serious. But if you call him 10, 15 times and he's not showing up, and then when he comes up, you got some lawmakers who are in higher position backing him and in fact speaking on his behalf.
Mm-hmm.
It is so sad. And then you are the people that are electing these people to become your president pro tem. You're electing them to become your senators, your legislature. You need to wake up, because tomorrow it is your future. And let me just throw that point in there. God forbid something happened to any of those people. In fact, once they get sick a little, the first thing we know is whether it's the Speaker of the House or any of the lawmakers, they fly out of the country to seek medical treatment. When you get sick, they expect you to go to JFK or Redemption, where there is no medication, no bed, no doctor, no nothing. That is not the right of a citizen. The same right the president has is the same rights the janitor of the G.W. Gibson person has. Under the Constitution, you are entitled to health care, you are entitled to education, you are entitled to security, you are entitled to everything that the government provides for those people. So let us know that those values are for us. And those people you put in those places that you're electing, you are the one giving it privilege to serve you, not to be your bosses.
But you know, the thing is, Sabulu said, the sad thing about the whole issue, you're talking about serving, but what I have come to see, to notice, is that most of our brothers and sisters in Liberia, they hold to this notion that if a president go out there and electrify the city, that president is doing them a favor. If someone goes out there and does something, maybe build a school, that person is doing them a favor. That person is doing them a favor. That is not a favor. That is part of what that individual should do. That is what they promised you they were going to do. So yeah. I'm telling you, you know, I know we will still make this comparison whether people like it or not. We sit here in the United States. This midterm election that we just had this November, last November, it was a direct indictment on President. It was a direct indictment on President Biden. It was an indictment on him, and so for people to feel like they are actually they're receiving favor or handout from elected people, I think it is just a petty thing that we look at in our country. So it's a very sad thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, if we can start to do the same thing in Liberia and other African countries, but let's be specific to Liberia, then I think people will start to take us serious. And we always talk about the international community. You know, if you look at our Liberian governance system, the people who don't vote us in power are the one we give more respect to, right? Look at what's happening. President Weah is more eager to come and meet Joe Biden than he is to meet his own citizen. This guy never, since I've been knowing, I don't know the time, the last time that he gave a live speech to his people to address them without it be pre-recorded. I don't know the time. But he's trying to come to meet Joe Biden, who has nothing to do with Liberia.
The man trying to negotiate something. He's trying to get some things for us.
I hope so. And I hope his trips bring meaningful, tangible, because this thing, and I want to put in there before, because I know I got a short time here to go, but I want to put something in here just from history of this administration. There have been times where we hear the president brought 75 million. We only hear it, but we don't see it working in the country. And I hope this 175 million that we're hearing that he's bringing this time, it should be a tangible that will go to the welfare of the Liberian people. Because the Liberians are dying. Look, this is Christmas coming. We're receiving messages already. Every day, people calling you, texting you. When the people start telling you hello, 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 that is not a normal hello, especially during the Christmas season. It's a reminder to say, hey, you are responsible. And we are not the one responsible for them, actually. It is the government that is responsible. But because they fail to do their job, then the burden comes onto us. And that is a sad thing. One day, none of our people, and I'm going to say this to our Liberian people, you in Liberia, Christmas is giving gifts. The gift is not a monopoly. It's not a one-directional exchange. It should be both ways, okay? Unfortunately, and it may sound harsh, but we in the diaspora, we should not be your emergency account that you don't put money into. It is your government that's supposed to provide the opportunity so that you can have a saving, and that saving will be your emergency account that you put money in every day or every month, so that when the time comes, you can go in there and take up money. And then when that time comes, you can go in there and say, oh, my brother is in America. He's been sending me this and that. Let me send him one dry money. That's what Christmas is about. Christmas is not a one-way street for one person receiving gift. But the only way those things will happen if you start to hold your government accountable and holding their feet to the fire and electing the right people. Not saying the man love the country, because we know what love of country have led us, or the man got the experience without a validation of that experience. So, Mr. Sheriff, and I'm sorry, and that's other prior engagement. I didn't want to go, but I have to go. So
no, this is great, man. Thank you for at least giving me 30 minutes of your time. I really appreciate it. So yes, you guys,
our audience, I'm so sorry that I have to leave, but God bless you. And Mr. Sherry, I'm leaving you guys in a great hand.
So I tell you what, so once Sapalooza leave, I will start talking about him. Brother, it was great to have you on the show. Thank you for being here today, man.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So, just to go back to what Emmanuel Sapalooza was saying, if you really go back, again, for me, this whole discussion, guys, I will be honest with you. This whole discussion, I am not there pushing one political party. I don't care for any of the political parties. And but what I'm pushing is our people in Liberia. Liberians, you guys, we are so sweet. Liberians are so forgiving. They're just wonderful people. That's why I keep going back to that song. You came my mind, you came my powerful for you. The whole fiasco with that 97 election we had in our country. Liberians, we are forgiving people. But sometimes we have to sit down and begin to think, not for us, but for our children. We must sit down and not to think for maybe my grandmother right now, but let's think about our grandchildren. Think about our great-grandchildren. Think about the next generation of Liberians that will come up. The opportunities we had in Liberia, we don't know if this next generation is coming up, they will have that same opportunity. And so when we talk about civic education, we talk about educating our voting populace in the country. We are not saying that Liberians are not sound-minded. Liberians are smart people. Liberians are very smart. They are very smart, very forgiving people. And because of that, I think people take advantage of us most of the time. They exploit us. Our would-be leaders, they will come, and because they know they can just come and do something and we will forget about the past. And they will exploit our love for them. They will exploit our loyalty to them. And that is why we're asking the question today. When we vote in Liberia, are we voting because of loyalty to that person? Or are we voting because of our loyalty to the country first? let's look at a few things here, friends, that you and myself, we can definitely come and look at and say, look, if I elect a president, what do I want in a president? If I elect a senator, what do I want in a senator? What do I want to see in a representative? Because when you just look at the name a representative, that person is supposed to represent your interest in the house. That's why they are there. But if they come back to the community and say, oh, I'll give everybody $5, $5 for you, $5 for you, but we don't have a single school in our community, what representation is that? But yet and still, we will still dance on the street and follow them when we see them driving in that shiny little car. We will follow them and we'll be singing behind them while they're in that car, they're driving to our community. We'll sing for them. Guys, I tell you what, maybe the next time you're a representative who have not done much in your community, the next time that person drives in our community and you pay them no attention, you do not even pick them up or lay them down. That's what we used to say in Liberia. You pay them no attention, they will get a message. When you start giving them the silent treatment when they come, expecting you to welcome them like heroes, and you turn your back on them, they will get the message. They will represent you. They will represent your interests. There are some communities in Monrovia, there's not a single drinking water. I mean, in terms of safe drinking water. There are communities with no hospitals. There are communities where kids have to walk miles to get to school. It happens. There are communities where children have to still walk in dirty water to get to their school. It happens. I can show you, I can name some of those communities. And I know the people who are working to cross those children safely so they can get to their primary schools. In Liberia, it's still happening in our country. And so when you are dancing on the street and chasing these people, walking behind that convoy, you're sweating under the sun, and these people sitting in a comfortable AC cars, and you running behind them and singing yo, 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 they don't care for you. They don't care for you. All right, guys, let's take a short musical break here, and then we'll come back and we'll look at some of these things that we are talking about. What are some of these things that, basic necessities that Liberians should have, but they don't have access to? Let's take a little break. Let me get my cassava gravy, and we'll come right back to continue our show. Whoa, 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 whoa. Love is all we need to make you see. This is the time to come together. Keep Liberia safe forever. So open up your heart, let the unity begin. Love is all we need to make it stand. Let's cultivate one another. Learn to live together as brothers and sisters. Without togetherness, we won't have no peace of mind. Unify and have a peaceful, sweet Liberia, land of liberty is our home. Keep it standing. This is the one and only home that we have. Liberty is our home. Let us keep. All right, guys, welcome back to Liberia Sharise. I'm your host, Augustine Sharif, and today we are discussing Politics 101. My co-host, those guys are taking a break, but the show must go on. So basically, we are just trying to answer a question. When we vote in Liberia, are we voting for the issues? Are we voting for our children? Are we voting for our great-grandchildren and our children to come? Or are we just voting because we love the people who come and stand before us and show us the handkerchief and say, I have a carrot on the stick, come and get it? What are we really doing when we vote for people? If you'd like to call and participate on the show, there's a number right there on the screen. You can call that number 720-767-2449 to participate on the show. We'd like to hear from you. What is it that we are voting these people into? We bring them in, and when we look at them to do what they're supposed to do for us, they don't do. But yet and still, we still go up and down the street and we sing for them, we dance for them, we shout for them, and we end up going home and sleeping hungry. And like I was saying earlier, most of the individuals that we actually put in place to represent us or to have our best interests, they come with a beautiful message. And that message is a message of hope. Most of the time, we are looking for that message of hope. And people come, they give us that message. And again, here, we have talked about the election with Chancellor Ellen Johnson and CDC George Weah government. We are not picking on one political party in Liberia. We are speaking about what you are voting for. And so if you vote someone in office and that person is not delivering the service that they're supposed to deliver to you, are you brave enough to go back and say, you know what, you already fooled me already. Next time around, you're not getting my vote. Friends, that's the only message that politicians will listen to. But if they keep coming to you and telling you lies and say, look, I can't do this because of this and this and this, and you keep voting, you keep giving them your vote, you can cry all you want. No rice in the country, the man got rice in his home. No gas in the country, the legislature, the people, they get gas. People giving them gas. They got a gas coupon. No electricity, they got that generators. They got electricity 24/7. No school. I mean, no money to pay school fees. Those people living good life. They got money in their pocket. Matter of fact, most of them got their accounts overseas. They got money. They got all their children. Most of their children in America or Europe going to school. So why do you think they will invest in you if their children are not going to the same school that you're supposed to go to? Look, when I was in school, when I was in Liberia, going to school, I went to SDA High School in Camp Johnson Road. When I was in SDA High School, I went to school with lots of the government officials. And some of them, we are still friends today. I'm not going to say their names, but they were in that school with me. It was a private school. Why couldn't we go to G.W. Gibson? Why couldn't we go to Tottenham High School? Why couldn't we go to some of the other government schools in the country? Because parents saw that every now and then the government institutions, people were always boycotting. Those teachers, they were not teaching. They would leave the schools and come out to look for private employment with private schools. And so if I am in a position to come to Liberia, let's say, let's come to Liberia and let's do some voters education. That's what people do. Election season around the corner, you start to educate your people. Every political party, you start to send people out to educate your people. ANC, send your people out. Go and educate the population. Why they should vote for you. CDC, go ahead and educate your people. Tell them why they should vote for you. Lay out your accomplishments. Unity Party, go ahead and do the same thing. Lay out your accomplishment. Let the people grade you based on what you have done. If I am voting right now at the top of the chain in Liberia, at the top of the chain, I'm not there, I'm not in the country, but I follow very closely because, like my friend was saying earlier, we have friends in the country, we got family in the country, and we are the one getting a lot of the pressure coming from the country. When the government doesn't pay the people in Liberia, we get the call. Brother, it is hard. I just need to pay my children's school fee. So the pressure is on us. We can tell our brothers and sisters in Liberia, no. The pressure is on us. So $100 here, $50 here, $25 here, $200 here. And on top of that, I got my own life here too I got to take care of. I got my own family I got to take care of here. And so when some of you, I know I've received a text message, someone just sent me a message, you're not even in the country. Why are you so mad about this whole thing? That's the point. That's why making me mad. Because tomorrow you will call me and ask me to send you something because you can't pay your child's school fee. Somebody's sick, you need to send them to hospital. You need to buy this. You need to buy a small of rice. You need to buy this. I get all the messages. Everybody. I don't think I'm the only one. Most people in the diaspora, we get those messages. You become friends with someone on Facebook. Tomorrow they start saying, how you doing? How you doing? The next thing you know, oh, can you please help me with small thing? And friends, we are not against that. We are not against helping. That is not what we say here at all. But we want you to hold your government accountable. Hold the people that you bring to office, hold them accountable. It makes me mad when you reach out to me and you asking me to do things for you financially, and then tomorrow I see you running behind those same people and saying, Zekwe, 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 and you still voting for those same people. You're putting them back in office when they have done nothing for you to deserve your vote. You have been very generous. Very generous. Your vote is very important. If someone is not delivering, vote for someone else who can deliver on the promises that you deserve. Every community deserves to have a very well-furnished school system. Need to have a good school system. Transportation is a big deal in the country. I know there are a lot of kekes on the street, a lot of motorcycles on the street, a lot of other vehicles on the street. But it is important that people who have no means of getting a car or buying a keke, it is important that those people, they can go on Broad Street and stay on the side of the road and get a bus, and the bus take them to ERWA Junction or take them to wherever they want to go. Public transportation is important. But many people who come to Liberia from the diaspora, when they come, they have to rent a car. I mean, if I come to Liberia, I mean, I want to walk a bar. Let me tell you now. If I come, I want to walk a bar. I want to go around the street. I won't be sitting car from one place to the next. I will walk the streets. That's how I used to do it when I was in Liberia. I used to walk from Front Street to Camp Johnson Road to go to school every day. So I'm used to walking around. I think I know the town very well. I think it's been a long time since I was there, but I think the town hasn't changed much. And so every community, you deserve to have hospitals. Look, I heard a story where, someone went to JFK. Their brother, had stroke. They took the guy to the hospital. Stroke. They took him to the hospital, and he had to wait for at least 3 hours before they could admit him at JFK. Because number one, there was not enough bed. So he had to wait for someone to be discharged before he get in a hospital bed. I mean, we're just keeping it real. We're keeping it real. The hospital system is not working. If it is not good for the government officials in the country when they get sick, they fly them out of the country. If it is not good for them, it is not good for you. They should not send you to JFK if they themselves will not go to JFK. That is just common sense. When you look at the economic status thing in the country now, I know everybody will say, well, it is not just in Liberia. Inflation is everywhere, all over the world. Inflation is there. But I tell you what, those citizens in different parts of the world, they are still able to send their children to school because their paychecks still come. No matter how high that inflation is, their paychecks are guaranteed. It's still coming. No matter how difficult situations are in those countries, those individuals are still getting paid. They can still send their children to school. They can still get the basic necessities for they and their families. But you will have one old man leave Logan Town, go to the Freeport, and work all day and come home and do that every day, either walking to work or begging someone for transportation, getting to work. At the end of the month, They don't have salaries. Christmas is coming. Graduations have been taking place. Students need to go back to school. Parents need to buy stuff. When I was a little boy in Liberia, guys, Christmas was a big deal. I don't know, maybe it's still a big deal in the country. Our parents used to sacrifice to make sure they buy us our little African clothes. We wear it on Christmas on Christmas Day, with our little sandals, Western Unity, whatever that thing was. We wear that and we go from one auntie house, one uncle house to the next, begging them for money. We started begging for a long time, my friends, begging them for money. And they gave it to us. So Christmas was a big deal. But right now, parents are stressed because they don't even have food to put on the table. Where are they getting money from to buy clothes for children for Christmas? Some people have not taken pay for 2-3 months. That's just the economic position we find ourselves in the country. I'm not even going to put my mouth where my mouth not supposed to go and say the president take 48 days and travel here and travel there. That's not my business. But I'm just talking to you, our everyday people. I'm talking to you. If it makes you mad that someone is using your resources, if it makes you mad that your children's school fees cannot get paid, if it makes you mad that you are not able to get the safe drinking water or the safe hospitals in your community, if that makes you mad, you have something to do about it. You can do something about it. And the only thing you can do about it is called elections. When elections come, you educate yourself. You don't get carried away. Look, I listened to one of my friends from Liberia. I talked to him on Thursday. I spoke with my friend on Thursday in Liberia, and I was very encouraged by what he told me. I'm not going to lie to you. We were having this conversation. He told me, he said, Sharif, you know what? You're right. There have been too many times where people have come and they have bought their votes from us. They wait until election time and then they start to do something good so we can vote for them. He said, but I guarantee you, that is not going to be the case in Liberia any longer. They will bring that money, we'll take it, we'll eat it. They will bring the rice, we'll take it, we'll eat it. But that will not translate into vote. I hope my friend was telling me the truth. I hope he was telling me the truth. And I hope this is the mindset for all Liberians. And I'm not saying do not vote for your political parties. I'm not saying do not vote for the people that you have your allegiance to. I'm not asking you that at all. But I want you to think. If you think that person have delivered on previous promises, or this person is in a better position to deliver on the promises in the future, then they deserve your vote. You do not have a crystal ball that you can sit and look through to say, if I vote for this guy, in 10 years, he's going to do this. In 6 years, he's going to do this. In 5 years, he's going to do this. You don't have that crystal ball. So yes, you are taking some risk when you cast a ballot. However, you can think before you cast a ballot. You can analyze before you cast a ballot. You can look at your little children. You can look at Mommy Gay and Junior Ball and just know that when you cast this vote, it's going to be for Junior Ball. It's going to be for Mommy Gay. Mommy Gay is only 3 years old now. But by the time that person you're going to put there as president, by the time that person come out of that office, if that person served 2 terms, Mommy will be 18 years old. And Mommy will still be in 4th grade. You understand what I'm saying? And Mommy will still be in 4th grade and 18 years old when she should have already graduated high school. That, my friend, is what you should be thinking of when you cast that vote. Don't get carried away by someone who come and sweet talk you and just say, Zekwe, and give you $5 US and say, vote for me. Don't make the same mistake our generation made in Liberia when we were running up and down the street and say, you killed my mom, you killed my pa, I will vote for you. We are still suffering the effect of that song. Your vote is your ticket to send a message to political figures. Until then, friends, stay safe, take it easy. God bless Liberia, and very soon, We will see you in Liberia. We'll be there. God bless you. Stay safe, friends. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.